My main craft, I suppose, that I do is this, which is it's like a domestic skill where, you know, weaving and carpentry are more like trades. Maybe once a year you would pick through all of the old clothes and sort out what are going to be the pieces that are best for making your patchwork quilts and what are going to be the pieces that are good for putting towards a rag rug. And I think, you know, the thick kind of tweeds from your skirts and jackets are really great for rag rugs. They make a nice cosy rug for the floor. It comes in and out of fashion as well, different times. It did come back in, you know, during World War II because of fabric rationing. And then I think now, because there's a lot of people who are thinking more about sustainability and getting away from fast fashion and things like that, it is starting to have a wee bit of a resurgence again. So if you were going to give this a go at home, you literally would just need to get one of the tools, which you can pick up in a lot of different craft shops, some hessian to work on, and although people use potato sacks in the past, you'd be more likely to get a coffee sack these days. So if there's a coffee shop nearby you that roasts their own coffee beans, you could pop in and ask them if they've got any hessian sacks you could take. And that's it. You just need your old fabrics after that, cut up into strips. The wee tool that I'm using is just called a rug hook. It doesn't have a fancy name. And a lot of those were improvised in the past out of, you could have some that were carved out of wood or carved out of bone. Some might have been old screwdrivers that had been cut in half and filed into a point. And typically they have a bit of a taper to them, so they get wider as they come towards the handle here. So whenever I use it, I will push it all of the way through the fabric right to the handle, and that way it's going to make as big of a hole as possible. So I've got a nice big hole that I'm going to be able to try and pull my fabric up through. Got my little rag here, and I will hold it underneath the fabric, try and feel for where the end is, and hopefully I will be able to just wiggle up the end like that. So there's the start in, and I can just decide which height I want it to be, about an inch tall, and then I'll start to add some more. So leaving about 1/2 centimetre, push the tool down through again all of the way to the handle, feel for the rag underneath, and this time it's going to wiggle up a loop, and I'll just make it match the height of its neighbours like that, and then you just keep going. So this is called a hooked rug because I'm using a little hook to make it, and it's got all of these little loops, but you can actually cut the loops open when you're finished, which looks really nice. So some people wait until they have finished the whole rug and then they snip all of the loops open. I heard a really nice story. An older man had told me about his sisters who used to make rag rugs, and they would wait until they had the whole rug completed, and then they would take it out onto the grass and start at the centre and snip all the loops open, and he said it was like a flower blooming to watch it all kind of open out. You don't want any big loops left on the back. You want to try and keep these stitches on the back nice and flat, because it would be very wasteful to have big loops left on the back. We want to make our fabric go as far as it can. It's a very relaxing craft. You don't really have to think too much. Once you get into the swing of it, your brain can kind of turn off a little bit and be a bit less busy. So it is a very nice relaxing craft to do. And it also feels good to know that you are recycling the old textiles from your house, not just adding more into landfill. There's always some good things to pick up from the way people were recycling and using up all of the bits and bobs that they had.